What's up, guys? It's your host, Justin Buzzi, back at it again with another episode of the Building a Buzz podcast. Today is our official 5-year anniversary of being a business, my 5-year anniversary of being an entrepreneur and owning my own business. And I've learned a lot along the way, so I figured this would be a great time to kind of reflect on the last 5 years and give you guys a little bit of insight on what I've learned, and maybe some of it will help you guys along the way. All right, guys, this is a tough one. I'm like, where do I start this conversation? Because I feel like there's been so much stuff along the way through the last 5 years. I mean, when I started out, I had to store the clear kayaks in my small apartment with my brother. I put them like in our living room for a couple weeks until I got a trailer. It's been crazy. Like, we started with just this small idea, and over the last 5 years, we now have 14 different locations. We've got a couple more that are hopefully opening up by the end of the year. And there's been so many things along the way that has been great, some shortfalls, and everything in between. So I think where I want to start out with this is just by letting you know, if you're interested in becoming an entrepreneur or opening your own business or something like that, you've got to be prepared going into it with the right mindset. There's going to be peaks, there's going to be valleys, and you have to know that they're going to happen. You can't shy away from them. You have to take them head on. There's going to be times where it gets tough, but you have to just do the work, get it done, and keep moving forward. That's going to be the best way to get through situations. If you're not ready to go against the valleys, and you're hoping that it's just going to be all peaks when you start your business, that would be great and all, but in a real world, there's gonna be things that are gonna happen, that are gonna come out of left field, that you're not gonna be prepared for. And you just have to know in your mind that these moments are gonna happen. And when you know and kind of prepare for those moments, it makes them so much more manageable. So that's kind of like the first tip. The next one is time management. This is kind of a strange one for me because it's interesting opening your own business, trying to figure out when you should be working on what and how long how many hours you should be putting in on different things. And so you really have to like play around with this and do a little bit of trial and error and see what works for you. Especially now working from home, I'm sure you guys have all kind of figured this one out, that time management can be difficult. And so for me, I work better in the evening and at nighttime. So I try to plan my days around knowing that I'm going to work probably 3 p.m. and later. And sometimes like I'll pull up my computer at midnight and work for like 2 or 3 hours. It really just depends. But you have to know yourself enough to know what's going to work for you, and figure out the best time management for your own situation. I like to try to find unique ways that like I can plan out my day, the night before, if I can at least visualize what's going to happen the next day, when I need to get stuff done. Do I need to edit stuff on the website? Do I need to do something for social media? Do I have to go to one of our locations? If you can at least get some sort of schedule kind of in your head or even down on paper, it's going to help a whole lot. So planning out those days. If you're a person that likes to use an app to plan your day out, like a Google Calendar or a physical calendar, and write it down, that's fine too. But just know you've got to find what works for you, and find some cool little time management tricks that are going to work best for your situation. And that's going to help out a whole lot with just being productive and getting stuff done, and set yourself some little goals along the way, along those time management things. So you know that you're accomplishing things, when tasks have gotten done, and when you can move on to the next thing. One of the other big things that I've learned along the way, I thought hiring people was going to be more fun maybe than it is, or easier than it is. And I think that's because I just expect a lot out of people. And, I'm super passionate about the company and being an entrepreneur. And I want to hire someone that's just as passionate about the company. But that's almost impossible if you're the owner of the company. It's hard to find someone out there that's going to be as passionate as you are about it. So you have to go into it kind of knowing that. But what you really need to do is look for people that have a desire for more. Look for people that have a really good work ethic and their morals are on point. And if you've got these kind of three key values, I think that you'll have a better time hiring people. I could have made some better hiring decisions along the way. I feel like the team I have right now is really, really good. So I'm thankful for that, but it's taken me years to kind of figure it out and figure out, the right person for the company. And that also means that you have to be really self aware about what the culture is that you're bringing to your company, what your values are as a company, and trying to find the right person to match those as best as you can. Like I said, you're not going to probably find anyone that's as passionate as you are, but if you can find someone that has these things and match the values of your company as best as they can, it's going to be a huge help. So, don't hire the first person that applies necessarily. Make sure you put your time and effort into kind of feeling out the person and seeing where their head is at. And you'll definitely have more successful time with them as part of your team. And through this, I've definitely had some failures as hires. And this is one of the big things that you have to remember. And it kind of puts a lot of pressure on you, but a fail on the company is a fail on you when you're the owner of the company. When something goes wrong in the company, yeah, maybe someone else did something, but ultimately it comes back to you because maybe you hired that person, or maybe they were trained to do that, or maybe you didn't think that person would do something and they did that something. And ultimately it comes back to you. When someone makes a phone call complaining about whatever it may be, it's your responsibility to take ownership for what the situation was and for you to fix that situation moving forward. So just know going into it, since you're the owner, you do have to take a lot of responsibility for a lot of different things. And this can come with a lot of extra stress. And if you don't know how to manage it, that can be very difficult. Thankfully, I'm super laid back and have kind of learned over the years of being rejected for like music stuff and some business stuff, et cetera, to not take it personal. Like, it's a business. Things are going to go wrong no matter what you're doing in life, no matter where you are. Nothing ever goes perfectly as planned every time, 100% of the time. So you just have to know, kind of going back to my peaks and valleys statement, you have to know that stuff is going to go wrong. You have to take responsibility for it, but don't let it like ruin your life and ruin your day. Give it the time that it needs and then move on from it. You can't be one of these people that just lets it kind of simmer in their head and they're thinking about it day after day after day after day. That's not going to be productive for you to get things done. So you have to learn kind of how to compartmentalize these things and address it when it happens, but move on after it and make yourself and your situation better after it. So I don't want to scare you from being in business because it can be stressful, but if you go into it knowing that, it's so much better. If you go into something knowing that it could be stressful and that you have to deal with the stress the right way, it's so much better than just being blindsided by the stress and not knowing how to deal with it. And then it kind of spirals out of control. So that's why I mentioned this here. And remember, a fail on the company is a fail on you. And you have to take ownership and responsibility for it, fix the problem, and then move on from it. It's part of being an owner. It can be difficult sometimes, but it's one of those things that I thought was really important when I've kind of looked back over the years. When these things happen, you have to step back and look at the big picture. You can't be stuck in these moments forever. Sometimes you feel in the moment like a task or something you've done, a failure that's happened is so huge that you don't realize, like, down the road when you look back at it, it was so insignificant in the big picture. So you really have to take a step back, look at the big picture, see what you're trying to accomplish long term, and recognize that this short moment in time is not the end of the world. So I always like to just take a step back and realize, look, I'm just doing kayak tours. I'm just trying to show people a great time and give people great memories. That's all I'm trying to do. The big picture, I'm trying to grow the company, I'm trying to franchise, I'm trying to do these different things, but ultimately I'm just trying to give people a fun experience on the water in a clear kayak. Like, it's not that crazy. And so if something goes wrong, months down the road, I might not even remember that that thing went wrong. Like, in the moment, it feels like this huge thing. But if you can learn how to take a step back and remember the big picture, it's going to make these moments so much easier to get by. One of these things that I've realized over time also is that you can't please everyone. Like I just said, our goal is to give everyone a memorable experience that they can take with them for the rest of our life. We want to please every single person that we talk to. We want to make sure every single customer is happy. But in the real world, we've come across so many people over the last 5 years that we've learned simply cannot be pleased no matter what you do. And a lot of that is based on their expectations. So I think what you can take from this is that you have to give people the right expectation going into it. So sometimes, like, maybe I didn't communicate enough what their expectations should be, or maybe I posted a picture of something and they didn't see that something on a tour, and therefore I set their expectation a little bit higher than it should have been. So you've got to realize, like, sometimes you're the person that maybe set their expectations a different way, or sometimes they just have their own crazy expectations and we can't live up to those. And you have to be okay with that you can't please everyone no matter what all the time. With that, you can't let these types of people bring you down. This is a big one because you've got to mentally acknowledge that these situations are happening and be able to move forward knowing that you did your best in the situation. If you didn't give it your best, yeah, maybe you could beat yourself up a little bit for that. But if you gave it your best, knowing you gave it your best, you have to know that you can't please everyone, even though you're always trying to. And I wish I could tell you guys how many times we've had phone calls. People call in and legitimately lie to us about the reason for not making their tour. Most of the time, it's like, oh, we got in a car accident. Oh, we're having car problems. Oh, our flight got delayed. Oh, someone in my family's sick. Those are like our most excused times that people are trying to, get their money back or reschedule to a different tour time. And we have been lied to, I kid you not, at least 50 times, probably more. And all we do is ask people for a simple document of proof showing that they've gotten a car accident or they're having car problems. If they can provide that document of proof, we usually give them a refund or reschedule. But it is crazy how many times once we say, oh, okay, great, as long as you can provide us a document of that happening, we'll go ahead and refund you or reschedule. 9 times out of 10, these people are like, they come up with another excuse because that never happened and we catch them in a lie. And it blows my mind, but you simply cannot please everyone. And you just have to know and acknowledge these situations. The next thing that I think is a big one for me, it might not be as big for you guys, but for me, I feel like I can never fully reach my dreams. Like, whenever I set this huge goal for myself, I get close to the goal and then that goal just happens to get bigger or that dream just happens to get bigger. I always feel like I'm getting closer and closer, but once I get close to it, I take a step back and I'm like, man, I could do more. I can keep going. And this is a fun one for me because I'm all about the journey more so than the destination. And so I feel like it's really rewarding. You set these goals for yourselves and maybe you feel like they're not obtainable and then you obtain them and then you're like, whoa, I just did that. Now I want to go do this. And this goal is going to be crazy to reach. And then you slowly and surely, if you're doing the right things along the way, you get to that goal and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm at this goal. Now let me dream even bigger. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. So going into it, it's fun to like set these dreams and goals for yourself and then kind of see where you end up along the way. And if you're anything like me, you might get to your goal and then realize that your goal just keeps growing and growing and growing. So it's kind of this unique thing. Like, I never reach my goal. So it sounds like that could be stressful or like a failure, but I feel like that's one of the biggest things that keeps me going is continually making bigger goals for myself. I think the last big one that I want to touch on in this episode is that time is the most valuable thing that you can give to anyone. And you have to be present with that time. It really helps any situation. Being a tour guide, if you're completely immersed in the experience with the guests, giving them all of your time, effort, and energy, they can really, really tell that you're doing that you're doing everything you can to give them the best experience possible. Same with just a simple phone call to guests. If you're showing them the attention that they need and listening to their phone call and listening to maybe some feedback that they have for you, or following up on feedback that someone has given you, giving people a phone call, something like that, time is the most valuable thing you can give to someone. A lot of time, these people are just they're trying to spend their time with your business, whether you guys sell a product or a service, whatever it is. They're spending their own time researching your product, your service, and spending not only their money with you, but their time with you. And money is something you can always get back. Time is not. So keep in mind that time is the most valuable thing that you can give to someone. If you do this when you're in conversations with your customers, your guests, your friends, your family, it will make all of your communications much more meaningful, much more efficient, so on and so forth. So it's been crazy. The last 5 years have been absolutely insane and such a fun, journey for me to be on, from working full time and starting this as I was working full time to just quitting my full time job and hoping that I was going to get by with giving kayak tours, to then going viral and realizing, okay, now we need to grow the company, and then starting the franchise and bringing friends and family into the franchise, and so on and so forth. It's been like such a cool journey. The amount of revenue that we have made continually blows my mind and makes me really excited for the future. There's been so many cool things that have happened along the way with influencers and marketing and social media and press and all these different things. And I could go on and on about those things. And I have in some of the other episodes, but these were kind of like the core things that I feel like I've learned a whole lot about over the last 5 years of being a business owner and an entrepreneur. I'm really excited to see what the next 5 years has to bring, because I feel like I still have so much more learning and growth to do as a business owner, but also as a person. And so that's what gets me really excited about the continuous pursuit of becoming quote unquote successful and bringing this whole idea to the next level. I love talking with you guys. If you have any input on this type of stuff or questions or anything like that, as always, feel free to hit me up on social medias at J_Buzzi, Buzzi. Thanks for tuning in to this kind of fun episode for me to look back on the last 5 years and write down some of my thoughts and share them with you guys. Thanks for tuning in to the Building a Buzz podcast. Until next time, let's go.